The Fantastic Four First Steps trailer has dropped, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the trailer. I'm not doing like a shot by shot trailer breakdown only because Disney and the bigger studios tend to copyright strike and copyright claim people over almost anything. I know for the Cobra Kai shows, I do it because Netflix seems to be a bit more chill, no pun intended. But I'm not going to take the risk here. So I want to give you my thoughts on the trailer. Came out this morning. First of all, the aesthetic. We had heard through the information that was revealed at the recent Comic Con last year and other sources that this would take place in a separate universe, in a separate version of the 1960s, in a very sort of retro-y, like Jetsons type of vibe. And that's exactly what this is. I can't find a more fitting look than that. Like, it really looks like something retro, something that just screams like Spacely Sprockets, just completely like you've got these cars that look like they're from the 50s, but they're flying and you've got all this technology. And it certainly feels like a world that, to be honest, comfortable. Like, it looks like a comfortable world. So in the trailer, we of course see Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. We see the whole family here. They discuss when they had gone up into space. I guess that it's not going to be an origin story, but they are going to show the origin and or at least talk about the origin. They might not show it like in detail, but they're going to talk about the origin of how they got their powers when they went into space and became the Fantastic Four. The very first thing you see is like, welcome to the Baxter Building. And we know that there is no Baxter Building in the Earth 616, so it's got to be here. Now, again, the aesthetic, it just looks like something so different. Lots of blues, lots of whites, not just in their costume, but just in the way everything looked. Very sort of relaxing, and I like that vibe. And just like the Jetsons, they've even got their own robot. Like, it's awesome. Now, we do see a shot of Ben Grimm of The Thing, and that's the first thing that caught my eye. The Thing looks great. I was wondering how they were going to do The Thing, if they were going to do motion capture or plasthetics, or how they were going to do it. And it looks like a motion capture character, but it looks very, very real. It actually looks in some ways even more real than Thanos. Like, technology has advanced. It's been 6 years since we saw Thanos in Endgame, and it actually, mocap and CGI is improving. So he looks phenomenal. And I remember when I was in theaters and I went to go see the mid-2000s Fantastic Four films, the ones that were in the Fox universe, with Chris Evans and whatnot. And I actually really liked the first one. I think the second one's not that great, but the first one I've always thought was very, very accurate as far as how the powers are and how the characters looked. I really, really liked like how the Thing looked, because the Thing is a character that prior to technology advancing would be almost impossible to do without using some kind of animatronic. And here we have the Thing looking great. So at least the aesthetic of this film is going to look fabulous and easy on the eyes. They have a shot of Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, in his, like in like a classroom using the old school chalk. Even though, again, people don't use chalk anymore. Again, this is the futuristic past. And he's working on some equations. There's been talk that at this point, he's already aware of the multiverse, or he'll become aware of it in due time. Now, this does mirror Reed Richards from the comic, because in the comic, Reed Richards did discover the multiverse, and there's actually a council of the Council of Reeds, where there's several different variants of Reed Richards. And we saw one of the variants of Reed Richards in the Multiverse of Madness film, so this is a different one. But the idea is that Reed Richards is one of the smartest guys in the world, if not the smartest. So we've got Reed Richards, you've got Tony Stark in there, you've got Bruce Banner, lots of really highly intelligent characters. Reed is right up there. And in the comics, he's able to actually develop technology where not only can he look at things going on in other parts of the multiverse, in other universes, but also can travel to other universes using this arc. And I like Noah's Ark, except it's a multiversal arc. And I thought that was that's like an incredible genius. And that's, I think, what makes him super interesting. It's not just the stretchy powers, it's the genius mind and what he's able to discover. The film looks like it's going to be addressing, Ben. There's scenes of Ben looking at himself when he was still, I guess, normal looking. And, because that's part of the story, is that he was a normal looking guy and now he looks like the Thing. And, he has a complex about that because he's not human anymore, or he doesn't look human. And they talk about, there's a conversation with Reed and Sue about like these powers that they're granted, which were great, but they were also there is a responsibility, and there's also a negative, there is a con to them, and that is that they've sort of maybe lost a piece of who they were, and that's always been something that's been part of the Thing character, or at least it was many years ago. They do show Johnny flaming on, and it looked great. So we see a shot of like an incoming alien invasion, and there's these kids that are wearing like these Fantastic Four shirts and merchandise. They got the Thing mask on, and we actually see a shot of the shadow of Galactus looming from above, and then we see Galactus, and he's on Earth, and he looks over at like the Statue of Liberty. Now Galactus looks pretty small here. Galactus is supposed to be a massive, massive being who can, he swallows planets. That's what he does. That's how he eats. And he's coming to he's coming to Earth, coming to New York. Now, I think there's a reason for this. I think in the film, he's probably going to shrink himself. Not like tiny, but I mean shrink himself so that he can come to Earth and speak and do what he needs to do. So he will be showing up, and he's the primary antagonist of this film and a threat to the Earth. And the Fantastic Four have to figure out how to stop him. But it's great because they got his head right. They got the colors right. Like, it's not just a cloud of smoke like it was in the Silver Surfer Fox Fantastic Four film. This is a solid being known as Galactus. And this whole thing, Galactus is supposed to be pretty much as big as a Celestial, like how what we saw in Eternals. So I'm not sure if this is going to like be him shrinking, or if he's just this size the whole time. I would assume that he is going to shrink, at least for a few scenes. But visually, he looks fine. And the last shot that we see is the Fantastic Four together, and you hear this like chorus in the background going, Fantastic Four. And then we see the logo, Fantastic Four First Steps, July 25th. So this is the first film of Phase 6 right here. Originally, John Watts was going to direct this film. Instead, it's going to be Matt Shakman, who did some episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he did some episodes of the Fargo TV show and the Game of Thrones show. So this is a big, big deal for him, I'm sure, to be taking this movie, because this movie has to really get people, like, the job of this film is to get people to start to care about the Fantastic Four, because they're going to be a centerpiece in the Phase 6 of Marvel in the multiversal saga, specifically Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. So they really have to, the movie has to be a strong winner in order for it to do well. So those are my thoughts. What did you think about Fantastic Four First Steps Trailer 1? Let me know.